So we had carpool in the morning, and it was basically like we'd get driven in the morning, but then after school it was like if somebody had softball or somebody had some kind of project, like everyone would kind of get split up, and then or 4-H or whatever, you would just kind of go, you would get yourself to the next thing. Or my heroin addict cousin Lisa would show up in her Chevy Super Sport that was jacked up in the back, blasting Stevie Nicks. And she would sometimes...
Karen!
In the middle of
Karen, over here!
It's all right. Come in, Lisa. Come in.
Needles are in the trunk. Come on, I won't embarrass you.
Seriously. It was... So basically what happened was I grew up next door to my Aunt Jean and Uncle Steve. They were not blood relatives. They were our next door neighbors and my parents' like best friends. They had a ranch. So they had like a couple horses, and then they had sheep and some cows, chickens, geese.
That sounds more like a farm.
It was a farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, ranch is not accurate. I'm lying about the size of their ranch.
I goddamn it, I asked you not to come on here and lie about ranches and farms. And
I want to talk about my lying problem. They called it the ranch. That's why I called it that.
Got it.
It was definitely a farm. But we did 4-H. So we did chickens and sheep and raised sheep and stuff for 4-H.
Did you have FFA?
Yeah, we didn't.
At
FFA
your high school
was for
eventually?
Yes, they had it at the schools.
We had it.
But that was kind of for like kids whose parents owned real ranches that were going to go into that, like farming as a job. It seemed like 4-H was more like, do you want to learn sewing? Do you want to ride a horse or whatever? It was kind of just stuff for farm kids to do. But anyway, so yeah, it was just like. So my dad was a fireman in San Francisco. My mom was a nurse, a psychiatric nurse. So they both worked during the day when my dad was in the city at work. But sometimes my dad was home. So like if he was there, he would pick us up. And then he would make us go do chores with him. He always was trying to get us to go to Yardbirds, the hardware store, with him, which we never wanted to do. But my mom worked all the time. So when he was at work, we would go to my Aunt Jean and Uncle Steve's and just like hang out on the farm and fuck around. And so like there were times where my sister she just wanted to be by herself or wasn't talking to me or whatever. So I would just walk through fields for like 4 hours.
By yourself?
Yeah. Just walk around or like walk with sheep or whatever. walk near the horse for a while. But it was just like, you just had to kill time, and they would only let us watch TV for like a certain amount of time. So it was like from 5 o'clock on or 7 o'clock on or something. And that's what's the real tragedy here.
Fucking 120 minutes of screen time, man. You believe that bullshit? I just milked 3 cats. I can't watch 8 is enough.
I earned that Tom and Jerry, you sons of bitches. I want to watch Flipper. They had
I used to love Flipper.
Flipper was like majestic. That was my favorite show.
Yeah, that was a great show.
Like stuff would happen and then a dolphin would show up to help. They should totally reboot Flipper.
I think they did have a movie that came out not too long ago. It was Flipper.
Did it do well in the box office?
Did you know about it?
No.
Probably not.
It was just a kid's movie?
I think so,
yeah.
I was going to say, I was a walker too.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm blown away. You're right. That would never happen today. We walked, I'd say probably a mile we walked from 6th through 8th grade. So a little older. But we would always gather a couple people on the way. You know what I mean? Like our buddy Chris Lamb lived halfway. So we'd get him and then we'd all go. But it was like, I loved it because it was always walkers are dismissed first. They were the first people to be let go out of the school. Everybody else is waiting for buses. You would sit there and they'd be like, bus 88's here. And if that was your bus, you'd get on that bus. But we were always first to bounce. So all the kids that lived, even though you didn't hang out with all of them are there first. And we used to have a vice principal that would drive around and make sure no one was fighting and all that. She had a Cadillac and he would roll through the neighborhood and regulate all the walkers. Yeah, all the walkers.
So there weren't like turf wars with the walkers or anything?
There were no Jets and Sharks shit going on.
None of that shit.
That's just right here, girl. That's right here. But you're right. I'm amazed at like the shit that it's not that long ago.
No.
But you would never, not only would you never, you'd be arrested if you let your 6-year-old walk 1 hour by themselves to get home.
Absolutely.
Even 30 minutes, you'd be probably arrested.
Yes.
Yeah.
That happened to a woman who was like trying to let her, like her.
Where you lived?
No. I just remember reading an article. I think it was like New York or New York State or something. A woman that was letting her like 5th grader walk to school, and people like rose up and were like, reported her to child services because she was letting her child walk. Meanwhile, we were like, we would on the weekends would set up lemonade stands and like attract all kinds of weirdos because it was like the late 70s.
Yeah.
So there would be like people rolling up that were they looked like they were playing a part in like a TV movie of the week. Yeah, where it's like, hey, I'm scumbag number 3. We're like, what's up? Do you need lemonade?
And they're just walking up to your weird ass lemonade stand, all
no shirt, leather vest.
What? You remember that?
Oh yeah, because my cousin Lisa, she hung out with these people that were like, okay, this is one of my favorites.
Listen, if they ask for pink lemonade, let me take that. All right. That's a special thing I got going on for my age.
Pour a little H into it. It cuts the bite.
It cuts it.
We were in drive home carpool one time with this family, the Benedettis, who are like
the who?
The Benedettis.
The Benedettis.
And they actually, it's funny because they were just like another family down the street, but their dairy, Clover Stornetta, is now like the fancy milk at Whole Foods.
Oh yeah?
So it's like the star of my hometown, but it's milk. I was like, I'll see it in movies, like, or in TV shows. Like on the table, it's just a Clover Stornetta thing because it's fancy, non-homogenized.
It's the Benedetti's milk?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's my carpool milk.
You were in their carpool, huh?
That's my dairy. That's my home dairy.
Had they started it when you were?
Yeah, it was like a family business. Yeah. So they'd been doing it for a while, but then they got rid of all like the hormones and stuff. They were like the first people to be like, our cows just eat grass. Come and get some of this.
Yeah.
And it worked.
And you were like, I'm gonna go to weigh a Keystone. Like, you should be fucking with our vitamin D, man. It's Benedetti's.
No, like, have you guys heard of beer? You should get into the beer business. It's so much better than milk. So they were driving us home one time, and we had to go to my Aunt Jean's house because my dad was at work and my mom was at work, and we got dropped off. And as Ann Benedetti was pulling her Dodge K car station wagon into my Aunt Jean's driveway,
K station wagon,
which was, who just said this? Someone said those cars. I think it's Vince Averill. Those cars were exactly as if a 3rd grade boy designed it. It's just like a perfect rectangles sitting on top of each other. So we pull in, and my cousin Lisa's standing. They're all standing around her Chevy Super Sport, like talking about the tires or whatever, or siphoning gas. I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
They're siphoning gas. Don't drink it, just huff it. That's how you get high. All right.
There was definitely hoses involved. And the group of people standing by her car were dressed and looked and had the vibe to the point where poor Marcus Benedetti, who was at the time maybe in 1st grade or younger, jumps up from the back seat and goes, "Mom, drive away, the bad guys are here," and screamed it at the top of his lungs. And of course, Ann Benedetti, the bad guys are here. And his mom was mortified. She goes, "Marcus, that's Karen and Laura's cousin or whatever." And my sister, who at the time was like in 6th grade, goes, "No, Ann, he's right." And then we just got out of the car. The bad guys truly are here.
Thanks for the chocolate milk.
Childhood's over for us.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
So they looked every bit the part. You would think that some high school. Was she high school at that point or college?
She was she was out of high school.
College.
Yeah.
Crew that she'd run with, driving those cars, doing those drugs, listening to Fleetwood Mac would look like.
It was perfect. Like towny, but a little worse. She had found the kind of outer edges of like that drug culture, but she was getting away with it. So like my Aunt Jean saying one time she just like snapped on all of us. Like we were all playing cards, all the cousins in the front room having fun. And then she just fucking threw it down and stormed out. And we're all just sitting there like, holy shit. And my Aunt Jean goes, her long hair makes her hot. What? My aunt tried to say that because Lisa had long hair, it made her hot. And that's why she was like in a bad mood all the time. And we're like, we think it's the speed. That's our theory. I know I'm only 8 or whatever.
Lisa said you didn't call Uno. So she is fucking pissed. Like, you sure it's not the speed, Lisa?
Karen, if you only have one card and you don't call Uno, Lisa will storm out.
She'll storm out. She's going to go
19.
sit in her car.
Yes. She's going to go smoke
And listen to Fleetwood
3
Mac.
cigarettes at one time. So it was a little bit like that, where we were kind of like, my dad at this point has actually said to my sister and I, yeah, we screwed a couple things up, because they kind of like trusted. It was just like, sure, let Lisa drive you to 4-H. So like Lisa,
she's all fucking
real.
punching it. Yeah.
For real.
No
Like,
car seats. None of that.
you know how in high school boys get their license and they get a car, and then their big thing is like, they come pick you up, they're going to drive 90 back down the street. I literally would just be like, is this it? Like, this is nothing. Because my cousin Lisa one time she was driving me to
Wait, you mean you were unimpressed with the guys?
Yes.
Because
they thought you were gonna be like, stop it, and scream and do a bunch of shit, and I was just like,
my cousin Lisa gets on 2 wheels right here.
get ready to hydroplane. Literally, Lisa would drive 90. I mean, then that's what kind of everyone did out in the country. It's just like there's no cops.
It was that, you said a Monte Carlo S. It was like that black one.
A Chevy Super Sport.
Oh, Chevy Super Sport. Okay.
With the midnight blue custom paint job. I had to hear about it so much. She
loved that car. Huh?
Yeah, she did. Or someone did and gave it to her. But she was driving me to 4-H one time, and it had just been raining, and we were going close to 100 miles an hour down Thompson Lane, which is just like just one old person getting the mail and it's over. And we hit a puddle and hydroplaned and spun in her car easily 10 times.
Are you serious?
Like, spun where I was just like, oh, this is it. I mean, I was like, oh, okay, this is all I get. And the car stops, and we're
Lisa's
just like,
woo!
Yeah. And she turns to me and goes, don't you ever tell anybody this. Immediately.
But if you do, you make sure you tell them I fucking pulled out of this like a goddamn pro.
They were going the right direction.
We're going to 4-H.